Chapter 7, Launching a Nation. Section 2, Hamilton and National Finances. The Treasury Secretary, Alexander Hamilton's biggest challenge in this new country was paying off the national debt. The national debt is money that is owed by the U.S. government. The U.S. owed $11.7 million to foreign countries like France and Spain, and $40.4 million to the U.S. citizens who helped the government by paying or buying U.S. bonds from the government that helped to finance the war. Hamilton planned to pay off the foreign debts first and then pay off all domestic debt at its full value. Now, there are some people who disagreed with this whole idea, Thomas Jefferson being one of them, because it felt like it kind of messed up the poor people. What I mean by this is people bought bonds to help the government, and then they would get paid back that full value of the bond when those IOUs come due. Well, some people who had bought bonds needed money right away, so they went ahead and sold their bonds to people called speculators. That's this word right here. Speculators. Speculators were those who bought items at low prices in the hope that the value will rise and they could sell them for a profit. So these people who were desperate for money would sell their bonds, probably at a lower price than they bought them at, to speculators. Now, Thomas Jefferson believed that the speculators should not be rewarded for buying these stocks at full price, and so because they're getting a profit, and it's kind of screwing the poor people. So he didn't like that plan. States combined, all 13 states owed $25 million for Revolutionary War expenses. Hamilton wanted the federal government to pay part of those state debts to help the economy. Now, the South didn't want the federal government to pay states' debts because most of the southern states had already paid off their debts. It was mainly northern states who had all the debt still. And they didn't feel it was fair that they would pay double, really, the debts. So Hamilton got the South support when he got approval to move the new capital of the United States from Philadelphia, to a place that would be later called Washington, D.C., meaning the District of Columbia. So you kind of see on this map where Washington, D.C. is, and Philadelphia, about right there. You can see my little mark. So it's not a far move, but the point of Washington, D.C. is technically in the South. It's surrounded by Maryland, which is considered a southern state. So the South is getting the national capital. They will help out with the debts. Now we're talking about two people who really didn't like each other and opposed everything that they did, and that's Jefferson and Hamilton. We've kind of seen some glimpses of the dislike between the two men. So we're going to see the differences here between the two. Alexander Hamilton, who is this guy right here, he believed in a strong central government. He believed that the wealthier citizens should lead the government. He promoted manufacturing and business and wanted higher tariffs on foreign goods to protect American businesses. Now, if you can't tell, Alexander Hamilton's from the North, and North is mainly industry and manufacturing, and so that's why he would want to promote that phase of the economy. The higher tariffs means that it costs more to bring goods into the country to sell. Thomas Jefferson is from the South. He believed in stronger state governments. He believed common people should have more power in government. He supported agriculture and farmers, and he wanted lower tariffs, these are taxes, to keep costs low for good farmers, for the goods that farmers bought. Now, a lot of times the farmers would buy goods from foreign countries, so they wanted their prices cheaper. What you see here is the beginnings of political parties. Hamilton wanted to create a national bank in which the government could safely deposit its money. The bank would also make loans to the government and to businesses. He knew that states' rights supporters would oppose this idea because he thinks the states' rights people think it's up to the states to create a bank, not the national government. And so he suggested, when creating this bank, that it would have a 20-year charter, meaning it would run for 20 years, and at the end of the 20 years, they can decide if the bank was good or if it was bad, and then they could decide to get rid of it or not to get rid of it. Jefferson and Madison opposed Hamilton's plans because it gave too much power to the government and that the Constitution did not give Congress the power to create a national bank. Now, these two, and people who follow them, favor something called a strict construction of the Constitution, which means that the government should only do what is directly listed in the Constitution. Hamilton believed in a loose construction of the Constitution, meaning the government can take actions that the Constitution does not forbid. Washington and Congress agreed with Alexander Hamilton, and so the first bank of the United States became the first national bank in 1791. That is the end of Section 2.